When you think of anime and music, who are the usual suspects that spring to mind? Maybe it's Lisa with her decade of presence, with bangers such as Oath Sign, Homura, and Crossing Fields. Or maybe you think about Yosobi and Creepy Nuts, the new kids on the block. And who could forget Daft Punk? Wait, you don't know about Daft Punk and their conceptual album film Interstella 5555? Well, buckle up as I take you into this 2003 cinematic adventure. Now, to understand how we got to this point, let's first go back and take a look at the minds behind it. Almost everyone is aware of this Parisian duo, in some form or another. Whether it being their groovy electric music, their memorable score from films such as Tron Legacy, or their extensive career spanning nearly 3 decades with hit after hit. But how does one of the world's most recognizable bands have, in what I found, one of the most underground pieces of media? The year is 1987. Thomas Bangalter and Guy Manuel de Homme Christo met in Paris, France, and bonded over their shared enjoyment of music and cinema, with the pair wanting to create their own band. And in 1992, they became known as the group Darlin. Oh, yeah, the minds behind Daft Punk didn't start out as the world-renowned EDM group. No, they started out as a 3-member rock band referencing the Beach Boys, with Laurent Brankowitz as their guitarist, who would later become a part of the band Phoenix. In fall of 1992, the band were able to add 2 of their tracks to Shimmy's in Super 8 compilation pack that was set to be released next year. In the time between the release, the rave scene was starting to emerge, and its atmosphere was infectious on the duo, turning them from classic rock into the new age of electro. Many may be curious as to where the name Daft Punk originated, and that goes back to Shimmy's in Super 8, as when the reviews were released, a British journalist by the name of Dave Jennings dubbed Darlin's music as, quote, daft, a punky thrash. Dave was basically saying, it's stupid, punky, and repetitive. The pair saw that review, and they decided to take the piss out of it, and thus, Daft Punk was born. Okay, I know the main headline of this video was about Interstella 5555. Don't worry, we'll get to that soon. Here's some Subway Surfer so you can reset your attention. Okay, are we good? Sweet. Now onto the album that inspired the anime's work. Discovery was Daft Punk's sophomore album, and it was a divergence from what their first album was. The reason being is that they had a philosophy of not doing the same thing twice. It's easy to see artists continue in the trends that work for them and roll in the money, with one example being the Backstreet Boys, as throughout most of their discography, you consistently hear the slow, dreamy vocals and instrumentality to match it in some of their biggest hits. I'm not knocking them, okay? We all gotta make a living. But it locked them into a lane that, if they wanted to break out of it, it would cause absolute whiplash to their audience. And that is slightly what happened to Daft Punk's audience. But I think what worked for their advantage was it was such a major pivot so early in their career, laying down the groundwork of what their audience can expect from them, with the gamble paying off, since what is arguably their biggest hits, One More Time, came out of this album. This is evident that Discovery was by no means an underground release. It was something that transcends mainstream. So then it raises the question again of why is Interstella 5555 not as widely known as the album that inspired it? The year is 2000, and Daft Punk wanted to create a film to coincide with its second album. The thing is, it wouldn't be that out of place, as one of the most legendary and world-renowned names in music, Michael Jackson, was synonymous with his music videos being short films, with examples such as Thriller, Bad, and Beat It. These live-action creations are so ingrained in pop culture, so why not go down the same route? Well, this is Daft Punk, and they're not gonna go with the flow. And so, we ended up with them settling on making an anime with a legend in the sphere, Leiji Matsumoto, the mind behind Galaxy Express 999, and the powerhouse of Toei Animation. With the plot revolving around an extraterrestrial band who have the grooviest beats in the galaxy, with the opening number being One More Time, which settles us in nicely to hearing what is an album so full of life and character. While the whole planet is basking in the music, an unknown force takes advantage of the military's distraction and lands on the planet, with the sole mission of kidnapping the band. So, they drug the masses. But shortly after leaving the planet's surface, a military member comes to, with him sending out a distress call, which brings us into my favorite track on the album, Digital Love, with it playing as we are introduced, Guardians of the Galaxy style, to our pilot and hero of the story. What follows is an impactful guitar riff which accompanies him while he pursues the kidnappers, with them both inevitably ending up on Earth. But once the band is on Earth, the track Harder, Faster, Better, Stronger begins to play, as we see them being taken into an unknown facility, having their memories wiped and altered in order to look like us on Earth, in which it's revealed who kidnapped them and why. I'm not going to tell you how it ends, you'll have to check out the B-side to find that out. So give it a watch when this is over. The easiest way is via the music videos. Oh yeah, Interstella 5555 was not only released as a movie, it was split up into music videos for each individual song, with the first 4 tracks, One More Time, Aerodynamic, Digital Love, and Harder, Faster, Better, Stronger, being released on Cartoon Network's late night show of Toonami. For those of you who are wondering what the hell is a Toonami, well, quote, Toonami was a Saturday evening block on Cartoon Network known for its action-oriented programming, particularly Japanese anime and a space theme aesthetic, anime music videos, and drum and bass influenced soundtracks, with the robot host, Tom. This was to help promote the anime to what can honestly be its niche audience at the time. But whether you're an anime fan or not, I would recommend watching it to anyone who enjoys this time period of music. The movie just oozes with early 2000s charm, from seeing the film winding to gather the group's memory, and it being uploaded to CDs, and the overall vibe of the film. It just feels like the mix of old school and new school, the rock elements with the electric guitar ship, then the clothing from the new era that the 2000s ushered in. And it just comes together, creating a harmony visually and musically, which is an absolute treat from the cousins of the medium. Music and cinema both convey the same ideas in some sense, of wanting to pass on a message to leave an impact on their audience. The message that Interstella 5555 leaves with me personally is the joy and freedom you should find in music, whether in creating it or partaking in listening. And as a listener, it's the easiest thing to do, as music is a passive aspect, where we sit back and hear what musicians have spent days, months, even years of sleepless nights, scrapped sheets of music, and hours in the booth. But then getting to see the joy from them when they're finally able to show off their creation to an audience, with the largest grin just embodying joy. So, has this film convinced you to watch Interstella 5555? If so, cool. And if not, well, there's not much I can do about it. But I'm curious, what is your favorite track from this album if you've heard it before? But thank you, ladies and gentlemen, once again for boarding this edition of the Messy Express. I'm your conductor, Brandon, and we've arrived at our final destination. Please don't forget your belongings, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you can stay up to date on the next time this train leaves the station.